Here comes everyone. Hello, everyone. More people joining. Okay, I think more people are joining here. We'll get started in just a second. Okay. Hi, everyone. Welcome. My name is Sean Ramsey, and I'm the Vice President here at ArtsBridge. We're so happy to have you all joining, and more people are joining as we speak. Welcome to our first of, I believe, 7 master classes over the next 3 weeks, starting with tonight. And we put this series together leading up to the first year of our ArtsBridge Summer virtual program, kind of to get everybody pumped. So we do have a lot of participants in here who are going to be coming to ArtsBridge Summer in July. We also have a bunch of teachers and different kinds of educators here, and a lot of parents, and probably quite a few people who are new to ArtsBridge as well. So welcome to all of you. Before we get started, I want to just go over a couple of logistical items for this class. So everyone's audio is turned off, and I'm going to ask that you keep your your audio turned off as well. You're welcome to keep your video on or off if you like, but we would like you to click in the top right corner of your screen the speaker view, and this will allow you to kind of see the action that's happening instead of looking at a bunch of people watching. So make sure that you choose speaker view. We have 2 students who are going to be performing in tonight's class that Hanley will introduce in a few minutes, my colleague Hanley Scheffler. But I do want to let everybody know that we will have about 10 minutes at the end of the class for questions. So if you have questions about the masterclass, you're welcome to chat them to me and to us at any point during the class, but we will save those for the end. And for those of you who are new or aren't sure what ArtsBridge is all about, but if you'd like to be in touch with us, you're welcome to email us at info@artsbridge.com. I will put our email address in the chat for everyone. I also want to mention that we do have a mailing list. We don't send emails too often, but it is a good idea if you're interested in learning about our workshops, our master classes like this, ArtsBridge Summer, our college consulting services. Please do get on our mailing list, and you can do that through our website at artsbridge.com. Lastly, I do want to mention that we have 6 more of these master classes. If you go to artsbridge.com, you'll see a new link for master classes right at the top of the page. They're coming up on June 3, 4, 10, 11, 17, and 18. So all of those will be either a Wednesday or Thursday night at 7:30 Eastern time. So I think that covers it. I will put these links into the chat, and I'd like to welcome my colleague Hanley Scheffler, who is ArtsBridge's founder and president. Hi, Hanley.
Hey, Sean, thank you. As Sean said, I'm Hanley Scheffler on behalf of our core staff at ArtsBridge. That's Sean Ramsey, Ariel Strasser, and Hannah Uher. Welcome to the launch of our virtual masterclass series. These are all completely free events, and they're made possible by the incredible generosity of the faculty that you see before you today. So thank you to our faculty. We wanted to give all of you, both the participants and the watchers, an idea of what we do every day at ArtsBridge and working with our students and giving feedback. Our faculty at ArtsBridge is much larger than the three that you have here, but the three that we have here are the important ones for now and for you to know. So we have McCaela Donovan from Boston University. We have Rick Edinger from Carnegie Mellon University, and we have Michael Hanley from BOCO, or the Boston Conservatory at Berklee. The two students we have for you this evening are, first one is Ella Ruttman. Ella is a rising senior, or actually she might be considered a senior right now, from Austin, Texas. Ella attends online high school, and she will attend ArtsBridge Summer Musical Theater this summer. And the second person for us tonight is Bella Schwartz, another senior from Boca Raton in Florida, who attends the Dreyfus School of the Arts in Florida, and she also will be attending the musical theater program this summer. So let's begin. Michael?
Great. All right. So we're going to, Ella Ruttman, you're going to start first. Do you want to maybe announce what you're going to start with for your song?
Yeah, I have Crossing a Bridge from Anastasia for my song. There you go. Okay.
Ella, before you begin, I forgot to share one detail with our audience. We actually have the sheet music available for anyone who wants to follow along. So I'm going to just quickly put that into a chat here. And anybody who's interested in that can get the PDFs. Okay, take it away, Ella.
Okay, cool.
Wow, thank you. Thank you so much. McCaela, Rick, who wants to jump in first? Because Ella and I work together every week, so she knows a lot of what I'm going to say. So
Sure.
I mean,
Rick, why don't you jump in? You jump in and then I'll go after that.
Yay. So Ella, there's like a couple of, first of all, you sound lovely. Thank you so much for sharing this. I'm going to pin your video just so I can keep my eye on here. Okay. So I want to talk to you a little bit first about that beginning moment in this song. There's a couple of things musically going on that I want to talk to you about. I'm at my piano. Surprise! Right? And we have this. First of all, because you have to sing to a track, and this is going to be really important for both you and all of your friends here tonight who are going to likely be having more and more of these virtual experiences, is that we're singing to a fixed piano track right now, right? So we have to make sure that the track that we have, we're locking in with that right now. And I know, like, I don't know if you have this feeling or sensation also, but the beginning of this on the track feels a little bit rushed. And you want it to feel free and like have this sort of con la voce essence to it. But I think we have to try to justify what the track is doing and what the instrumental line is giving us, because otherwise it sounds like you're butting heads against it right now, right? So like your accompaniment track comes in pretty staunchly with, and it's pretty fast. Look at the sky. We have to make sure that we sort of stay in time with that exact tempo. Cool? So when we go back again, that's one thing that I want us to think about. Cool? Now, the more important thing to me, like that's just like sort of technicality and logistics of this, is when does your song start?
Boats heading in, or like boats heading in.
When does it when does the song start when we're singing in musical theater? Is it when we start singing?
Oh no, when the piano starts.
Yeah. So I want you to think about like this introduction. And I often talk about this in musical theater of is the accompaniment supporting accompaniment of my internal energy and what I'm going through in this moment? Or is it spatial energy and the space around me? And then, you know, there's sort of an interplay there. What do you think about this music? This little...
I thought at first maybe it was like an idea, like, oh, I see the sky. But then I feel like my heart, like when I connect to it, beats so fast. So I feel like my internal dialogue would be a lot faster and like more,
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So I think more spatial.
Yeah, exactly, right? So this, to me, I mean, what is your first line?
Look at the sky.
Look at the sky. Cool. Do you know where are you singing this? Who are you? You're taking this within the context of the show, I assume, yes?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, right. And you can find your ways in and play with substitution, but ultimately, you know, you're Anya, yes?
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever looked at what the bridge that she's talking about?
Not specifically.
Cool.
That's pretty.
Yeah. Look at the length of the bridge. Look at the height of the bridge. Look at the light infused all around the bridge, these little twinkling lights, which may have been little torches or something at the time in 1927, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what is the title of the song?
Crossing a bridge.
Crossing a bridge, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not I've crossed a bridge, not I'm going to cross a bridge, but I'm actively crossing a bridge. All the way through to the end, the title doesn't change. That hook, that punchline doesn't change, right? So there's a long journey that we have from beginning to end of this. So, like, I think having this visual and starting to sort of set up sort of spatial, environmental viewpoints for yourself is going to help you lock into this character a little bit more, right? Because right now it sort of just comes out of this excited energy, but this is actually a moment alone, to be alone with that energy and to process that, right? Mm-hmm. And perhaps, yeah, that driving eighth note is a little bit of you, but it's also a little bit of the sky. It's a little bit of the water flowing underneath you, right? And I just want to see if we can get you to drop into this just a little bit faster, a little bit sooner, right? Like right from the beginning, right? So if we let the second we hear, what are you seeing?
Yeah, I think the lights of the bridge and the reflection on the water and the whole like encompassing energy, I think, of the bridge. And I love the cold domes.
Yeah, right? So if we can visualize that in that moment before, right? This moment before is really, I mean, quite honestly, when I'm watching auditions, if you have a solid moment before, I'm immediately drawn in before you even open your mouth, right? And that's what I want to see. And I know it's difficult for all of us to see in Zoom also sometimes. But but I want to make sure that that moment is really, really secure. The second, you know what? Let's just go back to the top of the track, and can we just play with that moment?
Yeah.
Cool. Sorry. This is where it gets a little tricky. Sorry. Great. Is there a way that, you know what? Can you sit on your little windowsill?
Yes.
Yay.
Okay.
There. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Yay. Maybe you're seeing, do you see that rail? I can stop sharing this. Do you see that rail?
Yeah.
Or do you remember the rail of the bridge?
Mm-hmm.
Yay. Good. Cool.
Okay.
Yeah, go for it. Good. Good, good, good. Right? Like immediately I can already see that you have like this connection to this theme, right? Because now it means something and it's not just notes on a page. Cool? The other thing that I just want to draw your attention to, and then I'm going to hand it over to McCaela because I'm talking way too much, is think about the structure of this song, right? So we have this theme, ba-da-da-dum, ba-da-da-da-dum, ba-da-da-dum, ba-da-da-da-dum, ba-da-da-dum, right? We do that in the key of E flat. And then the next section is up a step, right? Boats heading in, somebody calling, right? Which is a natural sort of build or scaffold in that, right? We've got A, and then an A that's a little bit more, right? What was like the most important word that you sang? Who would have known I'd be alone crossing a bridge? Then the next verse, the next A section, we start talking about somebody, right? There's somebody on the other side of that. There's somebody on the other side of this journey that I'm seeking, right? And that's a little bit of a build in that, right? And then the B section, which is what lyric for you?
Halfway between.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you hear how through the process of like processing all of these fast moving thoughts, right? We finally get to this release. The bridge is always a release, right? And suddenly that fast moving eighth note, ba-da-ba-bum, ba-ba-ba-ba-bum, ba-ba-ba-bum, turns into these like luxurious triplets, right? And I think you can really lean into that as much as humanly possible, right? Halfway between, yeah, where I've been, yay, cool. And then we get back to the A section, but this time it's different. Because usually if we have a build, we have this build in the B section, and then that last A section is sort of like a climax from that, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
But instead, it comes back down. And why does it come back down? Almost in sight, with little mezzo di voce. Why?
I think I realize I'm alone again.
Yeah, right? Almost in sight. The journey's not done.
Mm-hmm.
There's still work to do. Which is a reminder of, I'm crossing a bridge. And then do you hear what's underneath your last little coda section? Every da-da-da-dum, da-da-da-da-dum. It's a return to that little A section, but you have a little counter melody on top of it, right? That little A section is a sparkle of hope. It's a sparkle of light, right? Cool. Those are just some of the thoughts that I have on this song that I wanted to sort of make sure that we are focusing on and sort of really diving in and connecting into. Cool?
Thank
Hey,
you.
McCaela.
Oh, hey. So Ella, really nice work. As usual, your work is so beautiful. And I think I want to echo what Rick was saying in that I think creating the environment, especially with this piece, is really important right away. I think, the thing that I will say that might not contradict something Rick said, but just show you and other people who are watching that we all are different and we all look for different things and we all sort of make our own rules when it comes to this stuff, is for the sake of an audition, for me, even if you're in the context of the show, she's on stage alone, I feel like at some point in this piece, you need to anchor yourself talking to someone, whether that is a mouse on the bridge, whether it's a human being, but so in a way you are taking it, you know, you can take it a bit out of context in terms of the actual details of the play in order to give you some focus and some grounding at a certain point. And so I think creating the environment and feeling alone and being able to breathe the air and see what's around you is really important. And then on top of that, where in the piece do you maybe look to a particular person to talk to? Because the thing that's so important about the work that we do, whether it's a song or a monologue, is that the interesting stuff that we kind of dig behind the table, whether we know it or not, the interesting stuff is the stuff where you're reacting to your partner, to your imaginary other. That's what I want to see. It's more interesting than you acting, is you're reacting to someone and how that informs the next thing you sing and the next thing you say. And so I would say your next kind of journey for this,
get whatever, honey, sure,
would be to be able to take it to the next level. I would say go like, who's your scene partner? You know, and what's your relationship to them? And so that's something that I would say play with the next time you do this. And I think making physical choices right away that's so important in the work that we do. And I'm gonna say it's so important for everyone who's gonna be doing this stuff online and for making self-tapes, is like, you know, how can you get creative with the space? Because, you know, when we're on tape, sometimes we feel really stiff or we feel like we can't move. And so I think, and then I wondered what was the metaphor or the subtext underneath crossing the bridge, the phrase crossing the bridge. But like, what does that also mean in your life? And, but you did a beautiful job with this. And I think that you're sort of like vocally, it's lovely. You build it beautifully. So it's now, how is your version unique to Ella? How is this version your version of this, and not, you know, the girl who covered it for the 4th cast on Broadway, you know, because like anyone can do that, you know? So I think I want to know how Ella's personality comes through this piece and how your vulnerability comes through. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
McCaela,
Okay.
I totally agree, and Ella, I totally agree with what they're saying, and I'd love to see if you can bring these things into your performance and then see how it will affect how you think about producing the vocal sounds. Because I feel like you're making such beautiful sounds, and how can you do less? Like we talked about this a little bit, you know, in our lessons, is like, can you do less? Can you focus on what McCaela was talking about, is, you know, like it is a little bit inward, but then at a moment, you know, you have to be directing your energy outward. And so can you draw us in right to the beginning and maybe follow along, like with what Rick was saying, with those melodic motives that are so repetitive, so that we bring and we heighten that melodic motive, and that the text can feel like it's just sort of sitting on top of the notes. Mm-hmm. Could you try a little bit of it? It's not super long. And then I think we should jump on and go to your monologue, because I know we're running a wee bit behind, but I just want to see if you can bring all these things, that great stuff that we got from Rick and McCaela, into this.
From the beginning?
Let's do it from the beginning, and I might cut you off, but I might not.
Okay.
Great. Yeah.
Really nice adjustments, Ella.
Yeah.
Can we see the monologue?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you tell us what this is from?
Yeah, this is Millie from Picnic.
Cool.
Madge, how do you talk to boys? How do you think of things to say? I think he's a big show-off. You should have seen him this morning on the high diving board. He did real graceful swan dives and a 2.5 gainer and a backflip. The kids just stood around clapping, and he ate it up. And he was bragging all afternoon about how he used to be a deep sea diver off Catalina Island. And he says he used to make hundreds of dollars doing parachute jumps out of a balloon. Do you believe it? Madge, I think he's girl crazy too. Alan took us into the Hi-Ho for Cokes, and there was this gang of girls in the back booth, Juanita Badger and her gang. When they saw him, they started giggling and teeing and saying all sorts of crazy things. Then Juanita Badger comes up to me and whispers, I think he's the cutest thing I ever saw. Is he, Madge? Madge, do you think he'll like me? I don't really care. I just wonder.
Very cool. All right. So much to work with here. Let's talk about it. Sorry, I'm still writing notes. So okay. When you're doing a monologue, especially even if we're on tape, the thing is that we're still theater artists, you know, whether you train as an actor and you decide to go into film and television, or, you know, you decide to only do theater or whatever, if you're going to a theater focused program, we're training hardcore actors, whether it's musical theater or acting. And so I think it's okay to still make big physical choices on these tapes. It's going to give us a sense of who you are and how comfortable you are in your body. And so I just want to give you permission to do that. The other thing I would say is the beginning of this piece, your first line, tell me your first line.
Madge, how do you talk to boys?
Right. So my question is, how long has she wanted to ask Madge this question? Is this something you ask people normally? Does this take a lot of courage for you? Like, have you been building this up all day? And what's your relationship with Madge? What is your relationship with Madge?
Yeah, so she's my older sister, and she's a lot better with boys. I think boys like her a lot more than me. And I don't ask Madge for advice frequently. I think this is like rare, and definitely not about boys. And we
Great.
definitely bicker a lot. So this is rare. Mm-hmm.
Great. And I think also, you know, there's always something in sisters, especially an older and a younger sister relationship, where it's also kind of like, the question is, do you also want her approval? You know, I think it's important to ask yourself in this, what does this character want from Madge? Do you want her to say, yes, go for it, this guy is great for you? Or do you want her to talk you out of it? Because that could also be true. But either way, you, the actor, have to make that choice. So I wonder, you know, when we're doing a monologue or a song, I think that there's something to think about in terms of the physical, where you are physically in space. And the idea being, you absolutely can just sit and not move, and that can be stunning, or stand, and that's totally fine. But also, you know, where are you at I always ask people, where are you at the beginning of the piece, whether it's emotional or physical? Where are you at the middle? And then where do you want to be at the end? Now, how you get there in between those three guideposts is up to you, and it could change every time you do it. I wonder what it looks like if the beginning of this piece is a little bit more of like a 3-act play, meaning before you start speaking, can we see you in your space of your bedroom, Ella, just kind of like You know, what happens if you stand up behind the chair and you kind of like play with the back of the chair and you start to talk, but then you stop? And then what happens if you like go to sit down on the bench, but instead of sitting down on the bench, you have to ask her the question? Just to give yourself something physical before you dive in, and see how that launches you into the piece. Can we just mess with that a little bit? So you can take your time. Take your time.
Madge, how do you talk to boys? How do you think of things to say? I think he's a big show-off. You should have seen him this morning on the high diving board.
Yes, that's awesome. Ella, that's awesome. So, like, how did that feel for you in terms of starting the piece?
Yeah, I think at first I felt like it was like fake, but then once I got to the bench, I really felt like the propel to like tell her, like, I just really have to tell you, Madge, if I don't say it now, I won't say it in the picnic.
Yes.
Soon. Yeah.
And sometimes it does feel false. Like sometimes this stuff feels false, but we have to just go into the false nature of it to find the truth underneath it. And I think there is a beat shift after you say, how do you talk to boys, right? And you have that little section about how you talk to boys. When you say, what's your line about him?
Oh, I think he's a big show-off.
I think, yes. So you're choosing to bring him up. And so that's a big choice to make. And she probably knows you're going to bring him up. Maybe she does, maybe she doesn't. But either way, you choose to do it. And I want to see you make the choice to do it. So I think one thing that changed for me and was really nice is you also got more serious with your intention of why you were talking to her about this. And I think the thing that I think a lot of young female identifying students have to be cautious of is there's a tendency to smile through everything and to want approval, and that's natural. But I think that's a habit we have to be careful of, because the question becomes, when are you using it as a tactic, and when is it actually just the actor's habit of doing it? And I think you actually will draw us in more if your urgency and need to figure this out for yourself is really, really high stakes. You know, and I think, you know, picnic is the kind of play like Our Town or anything like that, where we kind of label it as like, this is like the young, sweet ingenue. And I think you have to erase that. I think you have to like just view this as a young human being, a young teenager, probably going through puberty, probably like, you know, asking herself lots of interesting questions. And I think that's really important to keep that in mind, so that we don't get this idea of what it should be, but we actually get your version of the actual given circumstances of the situation. I mean, I could tell you like 8 million things. We could go on forever, but but thank you for that adjustment. I don't know if Rick or Michael, you have anything else to add.
I was just about to jump in and say we should probably get to
Great.
Bella. Yeah.
Nice work, Ella.
Thank you.
Great job, Ella.
Thanks.
All right. Let's see.
Great job, Ella.
Thank you.
Hey, Bella, do you want to, once you get yourself set up, hello, you want to let us know what you're singing?
All right. I'm going to be singing And I Will Follow by Jason Robert Brown. All right. Music is, okay. Can I start? All right. Ask me something easier, a smile, a kiss. Look, I'll give you anything, but don't ask me this. Don't ask for faith when there's no great supply. And don't ask for love, I'm just now beginning to feel it and don't know quite why. Here comes the waves, here comes the ocean, how to decide what's there to risk, Why is the course unclear? Practical fact or foolish emotion, terrible pride, what's there to fear? Take me from here, and I will follow anywhere. I will follow, and you will lead me there. I should resist, I should refuse, you ask me again. See, I'm strong, see how I keep my vow. And maybe I'll trip, maybe I'll lose you. What happens then? What happens now? Just show me how, and I will follow anywhere. I will follow, and you will lead me there. Oh, the voices that tell me to stand my ground. Oh, all the voices that beg me to stay. All representing the life that I planned around. Do what's accepted, do what's expected, do what you're told to, until today, till today, and I will follow anywhere. I will follow, and you will lead me there. You will lead me there, and I will follow. Whoa, I will follow, and you will lead me there. You will lead me there. You will lead me there.
Awesome. Thank you. Yay.
Really nice
Rick.
work, Ella.
Yeah.
Hey.
Rick, go ahead.
Okay. So, first of all, good work on this song. This song sits in a very tricky part of the voice, and you've navigated it really beautifully. And I think like all the belt is actually really certainly justified. I want to walk through this song just a little bit with you, and ask you a few questions because I like there's. Have you? I assume you've built sort of given circumstances around this for yourself. Yes.
Yeah.
So, what is the ask that you reference in the beginning of this? What sort of high stakes ask is going to lead us into a moment like this where we can no longer process this in just words, that we have to delve into something deeper like song?
So for me, it's someone asking me to kind of leave what I thought was going to be my life behind and go and just see what happens with that person.
Cool. Yeah. Totally agree. Yay. Why should you resist?
For me, it's because my whole childhood and my family was like directing me towards that like life that I had thought was going to happen, and everyone, you know, that's the way that it is where I live, and that's the way that everyone goes about their lives, and it's kind of like this cycle, and I don't want to be the crazy one to not go.
Well, what happens if you don't resist?
Then my life is going to continue, and I don't really like the way that it's going, and I don't want to continue the way that it's
Cool. What happens if you give in?
I don't know, and that's what's scary, but it's exciting.
Cool. Right. So like there's and then what's the what is the obstacle in this song? Like what, cuz like to me it sounds pretty clear, right? Like I'm going to follow you and you're going to lead me.
Yeah.
Excuse me. But what is this obstacle? What is this thing that's holding you down? What's holding you back?
It's the fear that I'm supposed, like I was taught to be, that I should feel guilty for wanting my own adventures and dreams, and I'm just worried that everyone's gonna think negatively of me. And
right, it reminds me of the bridge, like what you're saying right there. Yes, all of the voices that tell me to stand my own ground. Yeah. What exactly are they telling you?
That I need to think the way that they think, and I need to grow up and be someone that is a part of that community. And
cool. So where in the song do you actually? I mean, in this song, do you make a decision? Do you change? Does anything change, or is this just a moment where we're sort of like a vertical song where we're just sort of stuck in this moment?
Yeah, I think that I go into the song already knowing underneath that I want to go. And I think that the way of singing is kind of my way of like, okay, like let me see what's really going on. But I think quickly I already know, like, oh, it's starting to come out. Like,
at what point in the song do you know?
For sure, I think I know after I sing the first chorus. I think it's starting to come clearer in my head, and then I start to then go back to like, oh no, you know, like I should resist, I should refuse you. Then
yeah, keep going.
But then it's kind of coming back, like, no, wait, like, don't listen to that. Like, I'm just saying that because I'm
right. Okay, cool. Right, you keep going back and forth, right? There is a moment. Like, will you speak the words of the text of the bridge for me? Oh, all the voices that tell me to stand.
Yeah. Oh, all the voices that tell me to stand my ground. Oh, all the voices that, you know, beg me to stay. All representing the life that I planned around. Do what's expected, do what's accepted, do what you're told to, until today. Until today.
Bingo.
Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
That's where it is.
Yeah. Okay.
Until today. And what happens right after until today?
Oh, well, I was just thinking it's actually funny because I say it twice. So I'm like, wait, until today? Like, oh my God, until today.
Right. Until yes! Right. So there's a moment of discovery and there's a moment of affirmation right after it.
Yeah.
Right? And what does it lead to?
And then it's I will follow.
And what happens right there musically? Like the music already tells you what it is.
Yeah.
Yes, let's sing it up a whole step.
Yeah.
Because it's even more exciting there. Yeah?
Yeah.
Yay. Right? So, I mean, like, there is a full journey in the song, and that's sort of where, like, I feel like it's sort of the way the choices that you were making in the final chorus confused me because I was like,
I was still
I thought you were still in turmoil.
Okay.
And I thought you had made a decision.
Yeah. Okay.
The text told me that you were making a decision, but that hadn't quite clicked in there. Right? So like if we get a chance to go back through this, which I would love to do, I would love to make sure that we are building to that moment.
Yes.
Right? Can you tell me, do you know what two notes are the highest notes in this song? Or what note is the highest note? Do you know? Just off the top of your head? No. It's a C sharp.
Okay.
There are two words that are sung on a C sharp.
Okay.
You know what the two highest notes in this song are? This is something I always tell people to do, especially in like traditional like golden age music. Go look at like what the highest note in the song is and what word you're singing. So I'm gonna lead you to it here. You're at JRB writes in the last chorus, I will follow and you will lead me there. You. And then the second time you sing a C sharp, I will follow you and I. Because the song is about trust.
Yeah.
And trusting another person. It's about you, the person you're talking to, and me, right? Right? And it's like that final chorus is a celebration of that trust.
Okay.
Because the song isn't "You will lead me there." It's "I will follow," right? And then the punchline is "and you're going to be there with me."
Rick, do you want to have her go from the bridge? And McCaela, do you want to jump in too?
Yeah, can I just add a couple things before we go back, Bella? Just, I know we're throwing a lot at you and you're doing awesome. The thing I want to add and echo, and what Rick is saying is like, what Rick is actually really talking about, and all these questions he's asking you are really about the acting of the piece. I mean, in reality, like what he's doing beautifully is showing you how the music is written to enhance the acting of the piece. But I think the thing to also add to it is, I was wondering if you're talking about like these people over here are the people I don't want to become. This is the community I feel like visually, I just want to see that more clearly in terms of like where they are in space or even in your imagination versus where he is or your other is. And how I think if you can put those two situations on sort of angles that are clear to us out here, it will make the storytelling clearer. Even if in the end you wanted to kind of second guess your choice for one of those lines, at least if you then hearken back visually to where those people were, we understand now who they are and how you've established it, and then know you're going to go with him. So there's something about the visual technical that you can do that would make the storytelling clearer. And the only other thing I want to say is that Jason Robert Brown is very busy music. He likes to hear himself play the piano, and the piano accompaniment is always very full. And so I think you can coach the accompanist if you don't have a pre-recorded thing, if you're in person, or you can work so that the pre-recording like grows in itself so that you don't have to feel like you have to blast this whole song, because his songs have a tendency to feel like we have to blast them. And once you hit a 10, you've got to come back down or there's nowhere to go. And I would encourage you, because your voice is so beautiful, trust us that we will hear it. We will hear the resonance and the tone of your voice. So I would ask you to integrate more speak singing into especially the beginning of this, more speech, so that it feels more organic, and so that when you do finally start to like blast wide open, it's super impressive to us. Do you know what I mean?
I totally, McCaela, and Bella, I totally agree. That's what I love working about this song in full, is that it's a marathon. And this is actually JRB himself. This recording that Bella is using right now is JRB himself on the piano. So
I'm not surprised.
It's playing this, and like, so I loved how you did it, and I loved doing the whole thing. We haven't done the whole thing too many times. It is a difficult thing, and this was great. I would love to hear you really quickly before we jump back into it. Like, could you just like go back to where you were, and I want you to speak the text of the bridge, but I want you to call it out with the energy that it would be. Oh, all the voices that tell me to stand my ground, especially when you get to today, because that has to build exactly like what Rick was saying. And so you've got to find that in your speaking voice before we put it in there. Okay. So can you try that? Can you try that right now? And then maybe we could go back and quickly do that and put all that stuff together.
I do it from the bridge to the very end.
I just want you to go from "Oh, all the voices" to "Today speaking," and then we'll go back to the music.
Okay. Oh, all the voices that tell me to stand my ground. Oh, all the voices that tell me to stay. All representing the life that I planned around. Do what's accepted. Do what's expected. Do what you're told to. Until today. Until today.
But can you do that? Can you call out until today? And I want you to call it out. You have to arrive there.
Okay.
Go back to do what's expected.
Do what's expected. Do what's accepted. Do what you're told to. Until today. Until today.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right? And so this isn't necessarily how you would monologue it, okay? But you have to, because there's so much energy, right? And there's more energy in this than you would probably use. You wouldn't be yelling at us in a monologue in this way. But if you can bring that into your voice, if you can bring that into the singing, that's going to bring exactly what McCaela said. It's going to bring in the singing aspect, but it's also going to build, like what Rick was saying, you're going to get that affirmation, and then boom, D major to E major, and then boom, calling out on such an awesome vowel to call out on an A vowel, you know?
Bella, can we just hear just like, Michael, where do you want to, do you just want to do the beginning? A little bit of the beginning?
I was
again?
thinking to go back to the bridge. What do you think? Like we could start really anywhere. Rick, what do you think?
Yeah, we could go from the bridge. Are you cool with that?
Yes.
Because that's going to be a moment to kind of pull back and then do like a mini build. You know, I think that if we started at the beginning, I think it might be a little long.
Okay.
Before you start, Bella, I just want to give everyone about a 5-minute warning until we get to our Q&A part. So we'll just go about 10 minutes later than we expected to tonight.
Okay. Great.
All right.
These kids are too good. That's why we're taking so much time.
Yeah.
We're having too much fun.
Okay.
Okay, I have to like play it so that I can find the correct place in the music because Amazon Music like buffers. So.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Oh. Okay. Oh wait, that's not the correct place in the music. Oh, it went back. That's strange.
Bella, don't worry about it. Do you know what I want? Why don't you do you want to do it a little bit for like, why don't you do it for like us, like a little bit a cappella, just like sing through it. I think that would be awesome. Rick, do you have the music up? You can play her a little bit.
Cool.
Okay. Yeah, we don't need JRB. We got Rick Edinger.
Cool.
Okay. Oh, all the voices that tell me to stand my ground. Oh, all the voices that beg me to stay. All representing the life that I planned around. Do what's accepted, do what's expected, do what you're told to. Until today, till today, and I will follow anywhere. I will follow, and you will lead me there.
Yeah, that was really nice.
Can I just say, yeah, sorry. Like you sealed I loved that, like you made choices that totally defied my expectations, but then brought it right back around without even speaking at the end. Yeah, that was really beautiful.
That's
Nice.
lovely. Bella, do we have time to hear your monologue?
Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah, what's it from?
So I have a monologue from the children's hour.
Great.
Okay. There's always been something wrong. Always. As long as I can remember, but I never knew it until all of this happened. You're afraid of hearing it. I'm more afraid than you, but you've got to hear it. I can't keep it to myself any longer. I've got to tell you that I'm guilty. And I've been telling myself since the night we heard the child say it. I lay at night praying that it isn't true, but it's there now. I don't know how, and I don't know why, but I did love you. I do love you. I resented your marriage. Maybe because I wanted you. Maybe I wanted you all along. I couldn't call it by a name, but maybe it's been there ever since I first knew you. I never felt that way about anybody but you. I never loved a man. And I never knew why until now. Maybe it's that. It's funny, it's all mixed up. There's something inside you and you don't even know it. So you don't do anything about it because you don't know it's there. And suddenly a little girl gets bored and she tells a lie. And there you are that night seeing it for the first time and you think to yourself, did she see it? Did she sense it? I mean, she found the lie with 1 ounce of the truth. And they always do. I've ruined your life. I've ruined my own. And I swear to you, I didn't know it. I swear to you, I didn't mean it. God, I feel so fucking sick and dirty.
Beautiful. Nice work. I love this. What I love about what you've done with this is I love that this piece in the context of the play takes place in a very specific time period, right? And you can choose to do that for your audition or not in terms of like the carriage and the way that you would hold yourself. But the reality is that this piece anyone could connect to it in any time period, that, that not everyone feels like they can love who they love. And it's so beautiful. I think what was nice is you made it your own and you made it contemporary in a way that it felt truthful to who you are, but it didn't do a disservice to the text, which was beautiful. I thought using the piece of furniture to sort of bounce off of to start was really nice. It just kind of grounded you a little bit. When you say, I've got to tell you, that is a huge admission. And again, I would ask, like, how long have you wanted to say that to her? And how is she going to react to this? And do you have expectations of how she'll react? And I think the thing right now that is the next layer of work in this is, how is she reacting? Is there a moment where you can read on her face that she's going to come and hug you? Is there a moment where she actually steps towards the door? How does that change the next thing you say? So I think her reaction is the next layer that I want to see in this. And Bella, when you built the piece rhythmically really beautifully, and then you had that moment of sort of like, you earned that beat of silence. You earned that beat of breathing through the silence and of it sort of letting it hit you, what you just admitted to. And then because you allowed yourself, the actor, to have that silence, it kind of allowed your body's sensations to bring up that emotion for you. It was just a physical thing that happened. And so your vulnerability came through, and it became also a piece, not just about her and what you wanted from her, but also a self-reflection of how far you've come. And so that was so beautiful, because as someone sitting out here watching, it not only gave me a sense of what the character was risking, but it gave me a sense of you, the actor, and being able to access that part of yourself and risk that part of yourself, which is so important that we see that, and really hard to do.
I was just gonna say, McCaela, that is the perfect place to stop. Because
okay, sorry, I could keep going forever. Go.
I know. Clearly we need another hour. for more good work to happen. But I think people are, I just want to be respectful of everyone's time. And we do have a couple of questions that I would love for you faculty to answer that have come in. But do you guys have any closing remarks for Bella before we let her go?
Or Ella, for that matter.
Or Ella, for that matter.
I thought you both did beautifully.
Yeah, I'm just super excited because I mean, I worked with both of you last year at ArtsBridge 2, Musical Theater 2, and just to see the growth that you've made in this short time is so fantastic, and your willingness to play in a virtual format, which I know can be sort of uncomfortable and awkward, has been really fun, and it just makes me all the more excited to work with more ArtsBridge kids this summer. Yeah.
Same.
Thank you so much, Bella.
Bella, I think I said you were going to MT, but you're going to acting this summer, right? Yes, that's what I thought. I'm sorry about that.
So great work, both Ella and Bella. I want to shift gears and get to some of our, yes, a round of applause. Silent applause from the audience. Great. So we'll start with the $1 million question, which I think everybody watching is interested in. So any of you that would like to answer this, just jump in. What's the best way to set yourself apart in audition pieces?
Is to pick something that scares you a little bit and to pick something you deeply connect to, regardless of age appropriate, regardless, because all of us in all of these schools, regardless of what they say on the websites, every single person at ArtsBridge on the faculty we talk to every year is like, yeah, I don't really care about age appropriate. I would rather, you know what I mean? Like every time. And so I think it's so important to pick something that speaks to you, and because what you choose also teaches us about you and what you're interested in. And college auditions are weird because they're not just about talent. They're also getting a sense of a human being. And is this a person we want to work with for 4 years? And part of that is in what you're passionate about and what you choose to bring to the table. So I think risking vulnerability and risking being messy and risking, showing like your humanity and not a perfect performance, but like making little, having little human behavior inside your piece is really what is interesting and is the best way to bring yourself forward in the room.
I totally agree. And I think that, getting dirty in this format is actually easier because there's no way to make Zoom perfect. And so we should all feel released from the perfection. Something at BOCO this year, we had to have this conversation with my students because when we moved, I was giving them homework assignments when we moved to Zoom, and they were doing such amazing, organic, great, vulnerable work on Zoom, and then they would spend 3 hours trying to make a 2-minute recording. And it's not about perfection. And so as you're heading into this audition season that is likely going to be more virtual than previous years, forget about the perfection. Nobody wants to see it. It's actually not possible. And as the more you try for it, the less it seems less perfect, and it seems fake to us. So I totally agree with the things McCaela said.
That's a good answer, especially given that a lot of auditions may be virtual next year. So a related question that I thought was an interesting one. Is a longer introduction to a song a good opportunity to showcase acting skills, or is that not advisable?
I don't think we need a longer introduction because I mean, like, ultimately we want to hear you, but like I would not abbreviate your like one thing that I just don't like is bell tones, just because that's a personal thing. But like a bell tone to start an audition song when you are super duper anxious and super duper excited, the accompanist plays and you're like, ah, because your adrenaline is on the roof, and then we all feel bad for you, and then your audition starts to snowball from there. So like give yourself like a 2 to 4 bar intro. No one's gonna hold it against you. 2 bar is nice. But just something to give you some sort of tonal center, and also like, for example, with like Ella's piece with Crossing a Bridge, it helps. I mean, the second that piano starts playing, you're in character, and you can snap my attention in those two bars. But yeah, I mean, just to build off of the last question from what Michael, I'm pointing to them on my screen, as you can see. What Michael and McCaela were saying, we're not looking for perfection. We're looking for unique individuals who are interesting and have interesting perspectives to share.
Rick, can I jump in with a question that I get all the time?
Yeah.
Hey, Justin. Sorry. Sometimes students think in their audition, they have to show you everything. They have to show you how high they sing, or how, all their notes and their technique, and that if they do a slow lyrical song, well, you really won't learn as much about them. Could you talk about that in the selection of doing contrasting material?
Yeah. You don't need, first of all, the audition is, we're looking, like McCaela said, we're looking for someone to work with for the next 4 years. So whatever it is that makes you special is great. I don't need to, your highest note is not what makes you special, because everyone else can sing that too and might be able to sing higher. Your comedic chops, or like your best character song, that's one little teeny facet of you. Like, I want to see you. Like, that's what we want. But we don't need to see or hear all the tricks. Show us the best version of you.
And can I also jump in and echo what Rick is saying in that, and this is something I wanted to bring up, is
Did we lose McCaela?
McCaela's frozen for a hot second.
Rick, we would jump in. I totally agree, and I feel like sometimes as the voice teacher in auditions, we see people who
really oops, sorry. Are you losing me?
We lost you for a sec. What were you saying?
Oh, you lost me?
Yeah.
No, I was saying that it's really challenging to hear students kind of wailing at their capacity all day if you're sitting behind the table, even if they have absolutely stunning voices, because it's a lot of sensation for people behind the table to take in all day long, and even if it's on video. So I think sometimes simplicity is really underrated, and sometimes it's actually a breath of fresh air for us. It allows us to actually get closer to you, and for us to come to you rather than for you to assault us with sound and try to impress us with the power of that. So bring us to you a little bit, because those are the most interesting auditions, is when I have to lean in because I want to see that human being more closely.
Right, and from a voice technique standpoint, I want to hear something that is integrated with your acting, and I want to hear something that you are confident with. So I don't want you to bring in a piece that is the pushing the boundaries of your technique, because you're not going to be comfortable and you're not going to feel authentic. And then I'm going to start to hear faults, and then I'm going to start to pick apart things, and then I'm going to start to think oh gosh, can I go back and bring you back to the slow building of voice work, because that's everybody enters and we all start at the same year as first years at college, and so that's how you don't want to come in with guns blazing. Yeah.
I mean, I like to be able to paint with all the colors of the wind, right? Show me the brushstrokes that you know right now, right? Show me the brushstrokes that you've really worked on refining for right now. We can teach you all the other ones, the pointillist ones, and I don't know any other technique of painting, but we can teach you all of those later. Right? Show me the ones that you've really polished, the ones that you've really played with and explored, because that's the interesting part of you.
Another question that has come in is, when filming monologues for a pre-screen or for a video audition, should the monologue be presented as a film or as a monologue for the stage on video?
This is such a good question. And I mean, usually there's a standard where everyone says, just have a blank wall in your house, and, every school is going to be a little different, which is horrible. I'm so sorry. They might want you to film from waist up. They might want you to film from chest up. But I'm also seeing a lot of people do some really interesting work with self-tapes that are actually using their actual environment and their, like the table in their kitchen, or, you know, like I saw a self-tape of a girl singing the other day. It wasn't a monologue, but she was singing and she was backing out of her driveway. It was on Sherry Sanders' Rock the Audition. And I was just like, this is really creative. And so I don't know what schools will ask of you, but I think if people wanted to take a risk, it might be interesting. Maybe not for both pieces, but, you know, why not? I mean, you know, I think I'm even thinking about it at BU, what we're going to be asking people to do next year. And I'm thinking about one of the pieces asking people to like create, like do it in an environment in their own home that makes sense to them or something, because I just feel like I also want to see your body move in space as I would get to see it in the room. So I don't know if I have an exact answer for that yet. And I think you just have to assess which schools you're looking at and see how strict everything seems, and then adjust from there. But I think you also have to go ultimately with your gut and take a risk.
So at this point, I think we've gone over a few minutes. Thank you, McCaela, and thank you, Michael, and thank you, Rick. To all of you here tonight, we know we had a few technical difficulties. We're learning. I think everything got a lot better and a lot clearer. But the advice, once we started hearing all of you speak, it's just transcends everything, because, you know, as you said, Rick, it doesn't have to be perfect, right? It doesn't have to be perfect. So anyone who has any questions or wants to know more about us, you can write to info@artsbridge.com. Anyone interested in coaching possibilities or anything else we do, you can let us know. But thank you and good night to everybody.
Thank you.